independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Australia, and it is Tuesday night, so it is time for my weekly online class to go. So if you're new to my YouTube page, my YouTube channel or Facebook page, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Each week on Tuesday nights I do a live class. We make 3 projects, and then for anyone who places an order of $75 or more, that's before shipping and after any Stampin' Rewards redemption, in my online store before the end of Saturday night, I will send you as a thank you the kits to make 2 each of the 3 cards from this week's class. So you'll get all the cardstock designer series paper, any die cuts that are not part of the featured bundle are included, any ribbon or twine, although there isn't any of that this week. Any die cuts that are part of the featured bundle, I'll include the cardstock or designer series paper, but you'll need to do the die cutting yourself. That just means that if you're using a different set to the one I'm using, then you can die cut the appropriate shapes for what you've got. So this week the featured bundle is the Scenic Coast bundle. Sunset Coast bundle, which is part of the Scenic Coast suite. And I've used products from the entire suite in this week's project. So I'll just switch my camera around and we can have a look at the projects. So these are the 3 cards for this week. So I've used, for the first and last one, I've used quite a few different designer series paper in addition to the Scenic Coast paper. So I've got some of the Garden Textures specialty foil. I've got some of the Regal 6x6 DSP pack, the one last year's designs, the beautiful bokeh paper, and then similar sort of thing on this one. I've also got some of the Sunset Shimmer Vellum in this one as well. So let me just pull out the stamp and die bundle. So this is the stamp set. So you've got a bunch of different sentiments, and then the stamps that all sort of coordinate together. And then for the dies, and I'll open this up so you can see them a bit better. So, and I need to take all my little paper scraps out of the middle there, but you've got 3 large round dies, so that's what I've used on this last card here, but I have also used the boat, just the boat, on the first one. So for this one you only need cardstock to cover the boat, and then just trim away any excess for that one. And then you've got the fence, the little birds, the shells and the netting. I do recommend using adhesive sheets with most of these dies, particularly the netting if you're using the Starburst one, the birds as well, and the fence too. It just makes it so much easier. I did forget for the first one, but I have used them for the others. I did use it on the netting for the first one. It makes it so much easier. Now I will also show you the paper, because the paper is gorgeous. It's got it's shimmery paper. So you've got, on sort of the reverse side for each, you've got a bunch of different colors. So these are the sort of more standard surface, but the front is the specialty side. So you should be able to see that on camera. You've got that shimmer there, and it's really gorgeous. That's a little strip, we don't need that. That's a partial sheet, but you've got lots of the shimmer in there. So you've got, very similar designs, but different colors, and they are stunning. So I'm having a lot of fun with this suite. I do need to spend some more time playing with it because it is a lot of fun and it's gorgeous paper. Alrighty. Let me put these back and we can get started. Try not to tear the packaging. Alright, so we'll start with this one. Let me just get everything out. So I have used Blueberry Bushel for the base for this one, and I have die cut all my pieces, and then I've also got some of the Waterside Retreat designer series paper as well, just to add a bit more to it. So this is the Garden Textures specialty foil. So let's start putting this together. There's lots of little bits for this one, but once you've got all the die cuts done, it's pretty easy to put it together. It's just a matter of putting them all in place, and if you do use adhesive sheets for all your little die cuts, it makes it much easier, and my glue has decided to clog up slightly. Hi Renee, how are you? Don't want to squeeze my glue too hard because it is a new bottle and I can see it just going everywhere if I do that. Alright, so get that one down first. Just straighten up the edges there. And then we'll layer these together. Okay, and then the foil piece on top. And then we will put that down. And while I remember, and it might seem a little bit early, but it's coming up, it is getting very close. In my email tomorrow, I will have sign up forms for the card kits for the 12 weeks of Christmas. So it's a series I do each year with a couple of other demonstrator friends. Those of you who have done my retreats will know them well. Connie Douglas from Great Stamping with Connie in Canada, and Terry from Rustic Barn Cards in the US. So we are teaming up again to do the 12 weeks of Christmas series, and we are offering kits again this year. So the sign up form will be in tomorrow's email. And also the paper share is still open for the upcoming catalogue. So if you want to get any of the paper or the ribbons, that is still open. Now I'm just going to get all my die cut pieces out. For the netting, I used half a piece for this one rather than a full piece. Let's just tip all these out. They're getting the ones that have adhesive sheets are getting stuck. So let's pull out the DSP squares because that's what I need first. And so I've done it. So I've got 2 that are sort of the sky pieces, and then I'm going to put that one that way, and then 2 that have some of the shimmer effect. So I want to line those up, so I put them opposite. Hi Dimity, how are you? So I'm just going to line these up, make sure the spacing is about right before I start sticking them down. That can move across a bit further, I think. There we go. I think that is just about right. Yep, let's go with that. So my glue is really not wanting to cooperate tonight, but it's very full, so I really don't want to squeeze it too hard. Once we've got the first one down, then it's much easier to align the others. And the next one, spread that out a bit more, just so it's not too thick at the edges. And last one. And that should do. Alrighty. Next, now I've cut 2 lots of the boats, 2 in Secret Sea and 2 in Strawberry Slush. The Strawberry Slush, I just want the sail. So we're going to cut the rest off. Because we don't need these bits. Oops. Trim those down and then just double check that these are going to fit, that I haven't messed up The cutting, no, all good. So we're just going to lay that over the top. And oops, again with the other one. If I can actually pick it up. Slide it across. And there we go. Alrighty, so I'm just going to sit these flat on the card. You can pop them up on dimensionals if you want. Just be mindful you've already got a few layers of cardstock on your card front. So depending on whether you're needing to post or not. And I'm just going to try and slide that a little bit more. There we go. Just needed to move it over just a touch. Just be careful how much adhesive you add on the bottom. Because of the die cut, you've got little gaps in there, so you don't want it all seeping through. But you can always do the embossing buddy trick if you do have any stickiness coming through. Alright, let's move those scraps out of the way. Now, let's start sticking these pieces down. So this one I don't have adhesive sheets on apart from the netting piece. So we will have to add the adhesive manually. So these will sit right down at the bottom. So, because these are quite thin, just be careful with the amount of adhesive. So if you're using a liquid one like this, just squeeze out a tiny bit and then spread it out. And just add it to the thicker parts. So that one is going there. Same again on the other side. Okay, that is done, and then we will add the netting piece next. I'm going to go with the slightly bigger piece. This one does have not dimensionals, definitely doesn't have dimensionals. That would not work with this unless you had them on spots where it's going to be completely hidden. So we're just going to stick that down so it's going to cover both ends of the fence. And then these ones, I am going to stick these flat. You can pop them up if you wish, just as with most of the other die cuts in this. Adhesive sheets are preferable. If you're using liquid glue, just be mindful of all the little cuts in the die cuts, because the adhesive can go through all of those, so just be careful. This little one's going in the middle. Oops, try not to drop it. Got one for the end. Okay, now let's, I think I even forgot adhesive sheets for the birds for this first one. Do any of these have? No, they don't. Alrighty. The other ones do, just not this one. It's alright, we'll make it work. Just thin dots and spread it out. Same again for this one. Oops, that was a bit much. You can always dab off some of the excess on a silicone sheet if you add a bit too much liquid glue to anything. Alrighty, now all we need to do is our sentiment. These pieces are spares. So for the sentiment, I am using Blueberry Bushel. But you could also, use Secret Sea as well. That would work quite well with this one. And it's a tight fit on this die. It does fit, but it is a tight fit, so take your time. Alright, then we just need to pop that up on dimensionals, and we are almost done. just underneath the main panel. And let's just straighten that up a bit more. I think that's, let's try that again. That's a bit better. There we go, much better. Alrighty, let's do the insert before we add the embellishments. Hopefully my seal will last. I'm not sure it's going to last the entire class, but we shall see. And I need it a touch more in the corner. It didn't quite catch properly there. Okay. Alright, embellishments. I have some of the adhesive backed metallic gems, and also when I was doing this, and I was looking for something else at the time, but I found some old embellishments that work really well with this suite, the faux sea glass shapes. So I have used some of those on this, and I will include some of these in the class kits. Normally I don't include embellishments, but for this one I will include some of these just because they do work really well with this one, and these are they're very old. They're well and truly retired, so you are not going to find these on the last chance list. So, and they do work with this, so I will include some of these with the kits for this week. And then just a couple of the metallic gems. And there we go. That is the first one done. Alrighty, on to the second one. This one has a bit of stamping. So we will do, actually no, we'll put the first part together, then we'll do the stamping. So I've used both the Scenic Coast and some more of the Waterside Retreat designer series paper for this one. Card base is Secret Sea. So actually, no, I will do the stamping first, just in case. Just want to make sure that it, well, hopefully all lines up the way I want it to, or at least close enough to. So, Secret Sea and Basic White Everyday Archers dies, and I'm using my foam mat for this one. I do have the glass mat underneath, and normally that is fine for the photopolymer stamps, but I found for me at least, the large water one needed a bit more than just the glass mat. So I am adding the foam mat underneath. So Blueberry Bushel ink to start. thank you, Dimity. Yes, it is. It's a very, particularly for a retirement card, it's really useful for anyone. It's very versatile, and I really like this suite partly for that reason, because pretty much everything is very much able to be used for anyone, which makes it much easier when you're designing. All right, so we want this one to be just a little up from the bottom. It's going to go pretty much all the way across, just a little up from the bottom, and hopefully this will stamp nicely. Yes, excellent. All right, so that's the first one. Then we are going to come in with, we've got the sun and the water. I'm actually going to do the sun first, mainly so that while it is front of mind, I remember that I need the sun to sit sort of, I don't want the sun sitting just above. I want it to be sort of partway down, and otherwise I will forget. So we go that one, and then this one over the top. Go, and then some, where's my cherry cobbler for the little boat. Oh, got some stray dimensionals there. Just got a little stray bit of fluff. Let's ink that up again. Okay, and then, where is my balmy blue gone? Where's balmy blue? There it is. At least I think it was balmy blue that I used for this one. Let me just double check that. Pretty sure it is. Yes, it is. Alrighty, so for the cloud, going to stamp off just make sure you leave enough room for the sentiment, and you may decide to do the sentiment first so you can make sure you've got the space. And we will need the balmy blue again in just a sec. I will just bring in the blueberry bushel again so that I can add said sentiment. And we put this one up the top. Alrighty, now to bring in some scratch paper. blending brush, Balmy Blue again, and I'm just going to blend all around the water here. And I'm going to go reasonably dark for Balmy Blue. But just start light, build up. I want to go as close to the edge there as I can. You could mask, and normally you probably would for this. I'm going with the lazy option tonight because it doesn't have to be all the way up to the top, and you can have it lighter at the top. So we'll just blend that in. Just keep going until it's as dark as you want it. And you could always use a sponge dauber to get right up close, particularly if you haven't got masking paper, although you can always use post-it notes, particularly when you're just trying to mask a tiny little bit. Just go the post-it note. It's quick, it's easy. And I think that's probably just about enough. Just get a little bit in some of the white sections in here. We don't need too much, we just want a little. That'll probably do, I think. Yeah, that'll do. Actually gonna come in . This is the very lazy. I should just get a post-it note out, but there we go. Alrighty. Now that that is done, let me move some of these out of the way so I've got a bit more space. And let's see if the height of everything is going to work. So I've deliberately cut the larger piece larger than is needed, just so that it can overlap. And let's just check that that's sort of going to sit roughly where I want it to. I think that looks pretty good. Could always trim this one down, so if you wanted to sort of move it down but you still want it to line up, just because you've got a bit of space there, you can trim that down and then you can have your piece sitting a bit lower. But I think that will work fine. Some more space at the bottom but the top, but that was kind of intentional anyway, so I'm happy with that. Let's put this all together and maybe make sure that the birds are the right way up. I think that's the right way. Yes, those are upside down. Otherwise it might look a bit weird, although it's probably covered enough that it wouldn't be too much of an issue. So this is strawberry, not strawberries, this is definitely not strawberry slush, Secret Sea two-tone, and I'm going with the lighter side for the layer for this one. And let me put this one over the top. And I want that little bit of the red in the shimmer, that part's higher up, so that's going up the top. Slide that across so it lines up a bit better. There we go. Alrighty, on to the card base. Straighten that up, that's looking good. Alrighty. Now we can, we need to pop this one on here first. I almost forgot about that. We should probably do that bit first. Kind of need to do that one. Alrighty. And let's just check. Yep, that's still looking the way I want. Still lines up nicely. So just try and line up the top edge of the water that you stamped with the edge of where the cardstock layers join. And then, where are they? See, I did actually remember, or at least partial adhesive sheets for this one. It was a scrap of cardstock, so some of it's got adhesive sheets on, some parts don't, but there should be enough. And if you've got, when you've stamped, if you've got any little bits where it's darker, where there's sort of a bit more ink accumulating and you want to hide that, it doesn't really matter. You absolutely don't need to, because clouds are not, perfectly even in color. But if you don't like it and you want to cover it up, use the birds and any other embellishments that you happen to be using to cover those up, and then no one will know. Okay, one more tiny little one. Okay, and then let's do the insert. Hello, Anne. How are you? Nice to see you again. Alrighty, insert down, and then embellishments for this one. Once I find them, here they are. So these are the dewdrops embellishments, and I'm just going to use some of the blue ones. Because they end up working quite nicely with the paper. They end up looking darker on the cardstock than they do in the pack, which is quite good because these ones are Misty Moonlight, I think. So it ends up working out quite nicely. So alrighty, there we go. There is the second one done. So on to the third and final. So another blueberry bushel one for this. Let me bring the card back out. Where is it? Hiding. Oh, underneath. There we go. So this one I have used adhesive sheets. So it'll be a bit quicker. Oops. Oh, that's right, my extra pieces. When I was designing this, I had designed the center panel and had the DSP behind that, and then I was trying to decide on the cardstock, the base layer, and then in the end I ended up going with essentially the same DSP. So like, well, I don't need to have that second piece behind that because I'm using the same one for the base. So I ended up saving a little bit of paper there. So we have some of the gorgeous shimmery paper there. So this is one of the die cuts, so in full. So for the first card I just used the boat, but this is the die cut with the one with the lighthouse in full. And then I have die cut from the Shimmer Vellum Spotlight in Nature circles. So I got 2 circles and cut out the center so you can use that on another project. And yes, I did use adhesive sheets on this one because obviously you've got lots of all the little holes, so adhering that with liquid glue, it can be done, and I have done it before, but adhesive sheets are so much easier. And then I have all my die cuts here. We got the birds, we've got the netting, can't think of the word. We have the, now do I have adhesive sheets? Oh, I do. For a minute I thought I didn't have adhesive sheets on this one, but I do, so that makes me very happy. And then this is some of the wood grain, what's it called? Yes, Wood Grain Wonders paper, and I've just cut this one. I just did this one by hand. I had a die that I sort of, the shape I wanted to use, but it was an embossed one, and so in the end I just hand drew on the back the outline, rough outline, and then just cut this one by hand. And seeing as I've got that here, let's stamp the sentiment now. Once I remember what colour ink I use, Secret C, I think. Where is my Secret C? Hiding. There it is. Hiding down the bottom. Alrighty, so that's just that reminds me I need to clean my stamp. But when if you are doing this one, just make sure that when you cut the shape out, make sure once it is cut, it is still wide enough in the center for your sentiment. Because if you sort of cut the initial piece to fit your sentiment and then you cut around and in and out, you may find that you don't quite have enough room for your sentiment. So just be careful of that. Now let me just double check. I'm pretty sure I did double check this one. It only just fits, but it does just fit. Because I made that mistake. But that's all right. I turned the one that I did for that I recorded the reel with, I made that one a birthday card. So that all worked out fine. Just could have gone over slightly, but it fits. Alrighty, so that is the only stamping we need to do for this one. So let's start putting this together. So I went with quite a thin border for this one. So a bit thinner than I do for most layers, well, most base layers. But that's all good. So that can go down, and then this one, we don't need that other piece behind it because we are using the same paper. Now I am going to, because I do like everything to stick, I am going to add, if my adhesive will cooperate with me, I am going to add, oops, I'll just spread it out so it's thin, but I'm going to add adhesive to most of these sections just so it doesn't start lifting up. Just keep it thin, spread it out as much as you can. Because you know me, I like everything to stick properly. I do not like my projects coming unstuck. But that should be enough. That's all good. All right. So we can pop that down. Okay, and then we can get the backing off this one eventually when it decides to cooperate. Let me get this one out. There we go. And then we're just going to pop that around the outside. And the other advantage of the adhesive sheets for something like this is that it's very easy to lift it up and move it if you haven't quite got it in the right spot. So if you need to adjust, you can. But I'm happy with that. That's all good. Alrighty. Let's add the little birds while we're here, because they're small and they will end up disappearing far too quickly, falling onto the floor if I'm not careful. So let's get these on. Before they try to escape. And where's my little one? There he is. Come on, there we go. Okay. Then we will pop this one down. So this one is full size piece of the netting. And so as with the first one, I've used the Regal 6x6 DSP for this one. I think it works quite nicely with this particular die. And then we will pop this one over the top. You could pop this one up on dimensionals if you want. I'm just going to stick it straight down. Oops. And that one's trying to escape under my desk. Well, under the glass mat. Let's get that back out. And we can put one piece down there. Another piece up the top there, and the final one over here. And then for embellishments, I have used the, where are they? Here they are. So the Sunset Sparkle sequins, so these are part of the suite. So we are going to use a bit of the orange ones. Did I use the big ones or the small ones? I think I used, screw it, let's go with some of them. We can use both. Don't have to use any any particular size. Let's go with a mix. And then down the bottom, we will use some of these ones. Oh, and I should add the insert. Let's see if this is going to make it. It might, if I'm lucky. Excellent. Alrighty, let's pop this one down. And we can flip that one over now. And there we go. Third and final card is done. Alrighty, let me bring everything back in. And there we go. Alrighty, so these are the 3 cards for this week's class. So remember, you have until the end of Saturday night to get your orders in, to get the kits, which will give you the supplies to make 2 each of the 3 cards. And just a reminder, if you're not already on my email list, head over to handmadeafterdark.com.au and sign up to my email list. In tomorrow's email, the link to the registration form for the 12 weeks of Christmas will be in there, and also the paper and ribbon share, the link to the form for that is in there as well, because that is still open. And let me just switch my camera around. There we go. Alrighty, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the projects. If you are watching on YouTube, if you like the projects and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe. That is it for this week. Next week's class is the Exciting Times bundle. So that one is a stamp and punch bundle, so the rounded rectangle punch. But that is it from me for tonight. Thank you again for joining me, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.